So we're going to take a look at a couple of major changes that have happened on the CTE servers recently. And the first one is to do with how the guns actually work. So you may be wondering, why am I looking at a character model? Well, gunshots in Battlefield don't come from the gun. Where they come from is between the character model's eyes. Now this may seem like a strange choice, but just about every first person shooter does it. And it's to make life easier for themselves. Everything is based around that one point between the character's eyes. So the viewpoint, the view distance, where the cameras move, all of that is based around that one point. What they're doing on CTE is moving the point from which the gun fires down to the character model's chest. Now this is quite a major change, and the reason they're doing it is to stop head glitching. You won't be able to stand behind a barrier anymore that you can see over, but you wouldn't theoretically be able to shoot over. Now here I am on an empty server at one of the notorious head glitching boxes. These boxes are level with your neck, so therefore you can see over them, but your gun and chest are behind them. And as you can see here, my shots are now hitting the top of the box rather than going over the top of it. Now the problem they're having with this fix is it has to be modelled on every single gun. So it's not a simple fix that they just change the character animations and it works. They're having to do it for every single gun. And as you can see, it works the same on every box. So if I redeploy and pull out a different gun, you can see how it used to work. This fix has only been done on one gun out of each of the classes. So the guns they're trying this out on are the M1014, the M40A5, the M4, the MG4, the CBU88, the Scar H, the Deagle and the MPX. So here I've switched over to the 249, and as you can see, my shots are going over the boxes. This gun hasn't had its model changed, and therefore when I come to these boxes and start shooting over the top, my bullets are going over the boxes because they're coming from my eye line, not from where the gun is. So in the new version they're coming from more at shoulder height. In this version the bullets are actually coming from eye line height, and therefore they're going over the box. To get to the same point on the box I have to aim down actually at it to hit the box. And here's a quick look at the MPX to show you the same fix. So the MPX shooting over the boxes is now hitting the top of the boxes, not going over the top. So this is going to stop a lot of head glitching, and it's going to mean a lot of the common points for people to stand on maps are going to change, because you can't stand behind boxes or looking over certain walls and get that head glitch effect anymore. Another major change has been the way you spawn on squad mates. So here I've got a squad mate selected, but it's not letting me deploy. And if you look at the left hand side to his camera view, you can see it's flashing in combat. So if he's shooting or if he's suppressed and receiving fire, you can't spawn on him anymore. You have to wait until he's out of combat and then you can spawn in. Now this is to stop you spawning in and instantly dying because your teammate's getting shot at. But I don't think this is probably the best way of doing it. I think a better way would probably be to have the in combat warning, but still let you spawn in. Now as you can see, these guys are in combat and dying, but if I want to spawn in, that should be my choice. But for now on CTE, you can't spawn on a squad mate who's in combat. The next major change to CTE is who can join the CTE servers. Now it's been held back to premium members on PC. So if you've got a copy of premium, you're playing on PC, you've been able to sign up for the CTE servers. They're changing that. In fact, they have changed that so that now if you're a premium member on console, you can join the CTE servers. Now you can't join the CTE servers on console, they're still PC only, but you can now sign up and play on the CTE servers if you have a PC as well. Now the reason there aren't console CTE servers is because of the number of updates they do. To update a file on a console, you have to submit it to Sony or Microsoft, who have to approve it, and then they let you run the update. CTE has, by its nature, updates that don't work, or updates that are untested, and Microsoft and Sony won't let them put those out onto console. So the CTE system itself is still only going to be running on PC, but what it means is that if you're a premium member on console, but say not a premium member on PC, you just own a copy of the game, you can now sign up to CTE using your console premium membership. Now, to give the console players a bit of help, there's been a change that a lot of people are hating, and that is if you plug a gamepad in and start using that on the PC CTE version, it now has aim assist. Yes, DICE have brought aim assist to the PC, but only if you're using a gamepad. Now, people have already worked out how to make the game think that they're using a gamepad when they're using keyboard and mouse. So, aim assist, which is kind of a legal way of cheating if you're using a keyboard and mouse with it, does exist in the game. So those are all in the latest CTE patch, and they're all pretty good, apart from the gamepad thing. In one of the previous patches that I didn't get to cover because I was moving, there was some more netcode improvements, and some pretty big netcode improvements. Now, they've not really changed how the netcode works, that's still the same. You've still got the high frequency tick rate, but what they've done is changed and tweaked how it's implemented in certain circumstances. So when you're aiming down sights now, you don't have the full bubble of the high frequency netcode around you. All it works is in a cone, so it works in a cone down your field of view. So everything you're looking at is now in a high frequency update. So that means that the high frequency updates project further out into the map. So if you're a sniper looking down a scope, everything you can see in front of you is working at high frequency, but it doesn't include anything behind you or to the sides anymore. So instead of being in a bubble when you're sniping and effectively what you're shooting at is out of that range, you're now looking down a cone of a high frequency update. And they've also done a similar thing with vehicles. The front of a vehicle has a longer high frequency area in front of it than the rear of the vehicle does. And another thing they've done is improved how the engine predicts where a player is going to be. So when the connection is dodgy and you used to get rubber banding because the engine didn't really predict where players were going to be properly, it just kind of kept them in the same place. Now what it's going to do is try and predict and follow the character motion that it had before the connection was dropped, and hopefully get the player somewhere close to where they're going to end up. And that means you're going to get a lot less rubber banding. You're going to get some still because it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give you a better idea of where the character is, and when the connection's re-established, then there's not going to be such a massive jump as there was before. And the final thing I think is worth taking a look at on the CTE servers is player collisions. So the way players run into objects, into other players, that's changed. Now they did test this out before in the first Final Stand beta, but there were a few issues where players would sink into the ground or end up under the map, and that's because they're trying to work out the new mechanics of the players. But now it's a lot better, and they've fixed the issues they had with the first test. Still a few little issues with it, but what it means now is that players don't run through each other, you don't get stuck on fences quite as often, and you don't end up being catapulted across the map because there was a problem with the collision physics. So that's it. Those are some of the important changes that are happening on CTE or happened previously. Like I say, I missed the Final Stand second beta because I was moving house, and if I was going to go through the patch notes for that and through the patch notes for all the changes they did in the teamwork exercise, which I didn't really like anyway, well, it would take me a good hour to go through them all and try and explain them. So I'm not going to go back and catch up on everything, but these are the important gameplay issues. These are the things that affect the game that everybody plays. Map changes and balance tweaks and a few little things that they've done don't really fundamentally affect the game, but these changes do. And of course these changes are going to appear in Hardline as well, so it's going to give us more of an idea of what to expect in Hardline. And speaking of Hardline, we now have a firm release date for it. Hardline is going to be coming out on the 17th of March. So that's a good 6 months after it was supposed to come out, and they've made a lot of changes to it in that time, which should make it hopefully a much better game. And we also now know that Star Wars Battlefront is coming out at the end of 2015. They haven't given a date, but we know it's going to be sometime early November, because that is when all the big games are released in time for Christmas. So exactly what Call of Duty is doing this month, that's what Star Wars Battlefront is going to do as well. It's going to be a November release in 2015. So hope that catches you up with some of the things that are happening on CTE and a few bits of news, and thanks for watching.